Don't worry, the reason why I did this intro will make sense in a few minutes. But before I talk about what I was going to talk about, let's get to my low, my high, my act of kindness. Um, I would say my low is that I woke up with a nightmare earlier today. Oh, from a nightmare this morning. I mean, it really isn't that big a deal. It doesn't really, affect what I was going to talk about today in the slightest. But come on, no one likes to have nightmares. Let's be real here. My high is the fact I got to see my dad yesterday. That was really nice. And I got to see my grandma too. And speaking of my grandma, I did some errands for her yesterday, so that was very nice. And let's get into what I was going to talk about today before I accidentally forget. Good morning and happy Thursday, everyone. So, if you remember, on Tuesday I did my arc thoughts on Whole Cake Island, and I just started talking a little bit about, the outcome of the fight between Luffy versus Katakuri. And I wanted to wait a little bit because the video was already getting long enough as it was. So I figured this should be the video where, I further go into the rest of detail about said fight, because even now, the outcome of that fight is actually still very, very divisive. As in, did Luffy actually win, or did Katakuri let him win? That's how divisive it is. Now, to me, in order to understand the outcome of this fight, you need to understand Katakuri himself. This is a guy who, for his entire life, tried to maintain the image of being perfect. In fact, legend has it that when he was first born, he pretty much did what I just did in the beginning. He walked up to a chair and sat in it, pretty much like this. In fact, no kidding, I'm actually sitting in the exact image that he was sitting in when he was first introduced in the manga, and the anime too. And throughout his entire life, he maintained that image so well that it got to the point where not even he started to believe it, or he got to the point where not only did he start believing it, but he was doing crazy stuff like never lying on his back in front of others, which, seriously, he will sleep sitting down or sleep leaning against a wall, but never on his back. I mean, during the fight with Luffy, it was legit proven to be a lie, but again, he had to maintain that image. And because he maintained that image in front of really all of Whole Cake Island, including his family, people looked up to him. He was that figure that everyone needed to look up to. And you're probably wondering at this point, why would he want to do that? I mean, his mom is Big Mom, one of the most dangerous beings in the world of One Piece. Well, in Big Mom's flashback, it was revealed that really Big Mom is an unstable child who really will destroy anything and everything to get what she wants, especially when she has her hunger pains. She will destroy her own family members if it comes to that. In fact, if you were to ask any of her family members, any of her children, what would you rather have? They'd say, we don't want to be where Big Mom is. And that's putting it mildly. So Katakuri really needed to maintain that image of perfection and be that stable figure that, everyone needed for in case the bad stuff goes down. And then there's the fight with Luffy himself. To say that this was the one fight where I really did truly believe that Luffy was going to be the king of the pirates one day, it was this one. because this is the first time I really do feel since the time skip that Luffy was legitimately put to the test. And keep in mind, during the 2-year time skip, he actually tried to learn and master all 3 forms of Haki, which he can do. But so can Charlotte Katakuri. And Katakuri can use 2 elevated versions of both armament and observation Haki. So there's others Conqueror's Haki, and again, both Luffy and Katakuri can use it. So now even Luffy can do that. He is better than Luffy in every way in terms of speed, strength, bounty. Oh yeah, I mean, not just by the numbers either. Because going in, Luffy had a bounty of 500 million, and Katakuri had 1,057,000,000, which, okay, that's twice as much as what Luffy has. But what's the 5-7 doing in there? Well, fun fact for you. Luffy's devil fruit power being the Gomu Gomu no Mi. Gomu can be written as 5-6. And Katakuri is, 1,057,000,000. See? So Oda was really doing a great job of piling on how much better Katakuri is than Luffy a lot in this. And the devil fruits. I mean, Luffy is the Gomu Gomu. He can stretch, he can take a punch, he can do all that stuff. Well, Katakuri's Moshi Moshi fruit does exactly the same thing. When I tell you that Luffy was outclassed in every single way, he was. And that's not to take away from what Luffy can do. Not at all. I mean, we've been following Luffy for over 20 years at this point. So, we know how strong Luffy is. So it really isn't just that Luffy isn't strong. He's just outclassed. That's all there is to it. But the one thing you could always give Luffy is his ability to take punishment. He has an iron will like you wouldn't believe. He can take hits like a champ. And considering that the fight between him and Katakuri was about 10 hours, yeah, I would say so. And speaking of which, Luffy's goal actually changed in the middle of that fight. Because Luffy was fighting Katakuri in the mirror world to help his crew escape, so he could eventually find a means of escape as well. But then I believe during the fight he realized, if I don't beat this guy, I may wind up facing someone much stronger than this guy. Or worse, I could probably see this guy again and I may not be so lucky to find any escape. Luffy wanted to fight Katakuri at his best, regardless of what the odds were. And he did. Now, granted, it wasn't easy for Luffy. I mean, I mentioned how Katakuri never being on his back was a complete lie. Well, that's when the Marienda happens. Because, Katakuri thought he defeated Luffy by burying him in a bunch of mochi, which Luffy ate his way out of. Yeah, I will admit, Luffy gorging himself like that and looking like a fat slob really never appealed to me. I mean, I get that it's probably funny for some people. It doesn't really apply. It doesn't really work on me, though. But anyway. And when Katakuri has his Marienda, or for those of you who don't know, Marienda is a fancy word for snack time. He makes like a giant chateau-looking building out of mochi. And there were some chefs. Yeah, actually, it was implied that like Katakuri and Luffy were like the only ones in the mirror world, but then you realize there were lots of other people too, including chefs that legit prepare everything for Katakuri's Marienda. So the chefs prepare the Marienda, which is like tea and donuts. Oh yeah, Katakuri loves donuts, by the way. He may actually love donuts more than Homer Simpson. I'm willing to put money on that. Anyway, so it's during the Marienda where Katakuri is able to let his guard down, and again, he thought Luffy won. He thought he beat Luffy, but he didn't. Luffy came back, use Gear Third to punch open that chateau, and then you see Katakuri lying on his back, which, again, he's said to have never done, gorging himself on donuts, and that began to mentally break down Katakuri. And keep in mind, throughout the fight, Luffy was doing more than just fighting Katakuri. He was also dodging a lot of his attacks. Katakuri really could have finished Luffy off a lot sooner if Luffy wasn't so nimble. And that's the thing. Katakuri may have been physically better than Luffy, but mentally, that's a bit different. Think of it this way. If you're, say, a jogger, or a singer, or a painter, and you are spending hours and hours and hours doing that very thing that you do, even if you're not physically taxed by it, mentally, you're going to grow tired of what you're doing. And it's going to wear out. And it's going to wear on you for a little bit. And that's exactly what's going on with Katakuri. He was spending forever trying to fight Luffy, but he couldn't. At least not in the realm of, finishing him off sooner. So basically, there was, in a weird kind of way, this is kind of like an unstoppable force meets an immovable object, because Luffy can't physically fight, can't beat Katakuri. But Katakuri can't keep him from getting back up either. So that's when the Charlotte Flampe thing happens. For those of you who don't know, during the fight, one of Katakuri's siblings, Charlotte Flampe, actually had a poisonous blow dart that gets Luffy in his leg. It temporarily lets Luffy's guard down, and Katakuri really gets him with his trident. It was actually quite painful to look at, I'm not going to lie. But when Katakuri realized what had happened, he gave that same infliction he gave to Luffy on himself. And that's one really appealing thing about Katakuri that a lot of people got behind. Katakuri is, again, I really wouldn't consider Katakuri a villain, an antagonist, but not a villain. Because if he was a villain, there would be some sort of element one day I'll take over the Big Mom Pirates if I can find a way to beat Big Mom, something like that. But you don't get that here. Katakuri does what he does to protect his family because he cares about his family. And for all intents and purposes, Luffy and his crew are a threat to his family at this point. Even though after the whole Flampe thing, Katakuri realizes that Luffy really isn't so much of a threat anymore. Definitely not compared to his own mother. Big Mom is going on a rampage right now. So, yeah, Luffy isn't a threat compared to his own mom. So there you go. And I think one of the most iconic lines in that fight for me is when Katakuri is looking at Luffy after he reveals his face to everyone. This is me letting go. This is what I look like. You don't like that, then deal with it. He tells Luffy, kid, I no longer think you're beneath me. And Luffy's like, is that right? Thanks. I appreciate it. I'm still going to beat you, though. And that's the thing. At this point, Luffy knows what Katakuri looks like. He doesn't care. During the very end, Luffy's like, our fight's not over. And the fight still goes on. He clearly saw what Katakuri looks like. He didn't care. He didn't make fun of Katakuri for anything like that. And honestly, because of that, Luffy got a few good hits in, which Katakuri chastises himself for, but gives praise to Luffy for being able to do that. So, mixed bag? And at this point, that's when Luffy starts breaking out Snake Man. Luffy had to make sure entirely that Snake Man had to be the one to do the job. And keep in mind, Katakuri is able to use Future Sight. So even with all of the crazy attacks Luffy's doing, Katakuri is still proving to be physically better. And Snake Man was really the only way he was able to get close to Katakuri's physical level, too. So, when I tell you that this fight was a struggle for Luffy, I'm not kidding. So, they clash with their best attacks. Katakuri using the buzz cut mochi, which hits Luffy on the head. Luffy using his Gomu Gomu no Mi King Cobra against Katakuri. Both their attacks land against each other. And they both fall to the ground, right? Even though Katakuri is laying on his stomach at this point. But Luffy was the first to get up. And he's like, man, I think I won. And then he looks down the ground, looks like Katakuri standing right in front of him, like, oh no. What's going to happen yet? What's going to happen now? And then Katakuri says, will you be back one day to topple Big Mom? Now, why would he say that? Well, it actually goes back to when Katakuri said, I don't think you're beneath me. He didn't say that Luffy was elevated to his level. Katakuri was just brought back down to earth. That's what it was. So by the end of this fight, Katakuri actually has a large amount of respect for Luffy, to be sure. That's why Katakuri says, will you be back one day to topple Big Mom? To which Luffy replies, of course I will, because I'm the king of the pirates. And then, after hearing this, Katakuri knew that Luffy was a decent guy. And that's actually one thing I gotta bring up too. Back in the Marineford arc, it was Mihawk that revealed that Luffy has the most dangerous power in the world. And that is, he is able to get other people to be by his side and help him. And keep in mind, Katakuri doesn't just say, I want to help you get out. It wasn't that simple. Throughout this fight, Luffy legitimately earned Katakuri's respect. By the end of that fight, they were two men fighting each other. And that's how every fight should be. You can forget that Luffy is the captain of the Straw Hat Pirates. And you can forget that Katakuri is the second son of the Big Mom Pirates. And this perfect being. They're just two guys fighting each other. Personally, this is just like a nitpick for me. But after Luffy says he's going to be king of the pirates to Katakuri, which is a phrase that Katakuri's easily heard his mom say many times in the past, Katakuri says, looks like you're seeing very far into the future. I don't hate that line, but personally I hope the English dub sort of rewords it by saying something along the lines of, I guess you can see even farther than I can. And then Katakuri, after fighting Luffy for 10 hours straight, having given Luffy his respect, he keels over on his back. But make no mistake, because Katakuri was doing all he could to hide his mouth from people, because he has the mouth of a pelican eel. Not to mention, he loves donuts so much that eating donuts opened his mouth so wide he has stitches everywhere. Luffy actually took the part of his disguise hat that was covering his actual straw hat, and he put it over Katakuri's face, signifying that Katakuri didn't want anyone to see him, what his face looked like. So there you go. They parted ways, having earned each other's respect. My point is, this is one of the best fights in One Piece. Because, yeah, it could have just been another, Luffy punches the bad guy and there's a bit of a struggle and he wins. But no. This was literally an instance where, under different circumstances, both Luffy and Katakuri could have been on opposite sides of each other. If you think about it, that makes sense. Honestly, I've been a Katakuri fan for a long time. In fact, no kidding. In the last Straw Hat poll, the one where like fans get to determine who their favorite character is, of like in the top 100, Katakuri stood tall at number 14, making him the most popular member of the Big Mom Pirates amongst the fans. That's got to be telling you something right there. Seriously, Katakuri was a huge breakout character for a lot of people, myself included. Although, if I can just say one thing, you guys know I'm a huge voiceover fan. So obviously I watched the dub of One Piece as well. And I mentioned several times how Colin Klinkenbeard, the person who voices Luffy, is one of my all-time favorite voiceover actors. But with One Piece really, really, really regaining world popularity, and even greater popularity here in the States, I think it would be really cool if Funimation got, not saying like full-on straight-up big-name celebrities, but like, you know, the kind of celebrities that you associate voiceover acting with, like a Keith David, or, you know, Stephen Bloom is more pure voiceover. Seriously, like, if I were to pick like a top 3 voiceover actors, in no particular order, to voice Charlotte Katakuri, I would say Keith David, Steve Bloom, but the person I've been leaning toward the most, Ron Perlman. Yes, the guy, yes, Hellboy himself, Ron Perlman. Seriously, I think if Ron Perlman was Charlotte Katakuri, that'd be the Hellboy 3 we never got. But that's just me. Whoever they get to voice Katakuri, I'll definitely give this guy a chance. Or maybe they'll actually wind up getting someone I couldn't have expected. Who's to say? I do know that when the dub reaches Katakuri's introduction, it's gonna be pretty cool. At least I hope so. Like, favorite, share, the subscribe button, follow me on the social platforms, on YouTube. I am very humble in this video for all of you guys watching. Go for him. It'll be a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful Thursday. And since today is the last day of Pride Month, and once again, I didn't really do the greatest job of expressing that. You know, I hope, to those of you who celebrated Pride Month, I hope it was wonderful for you. You know, I consider myself a Pride ally, so I hope everything was good for you. That's really all I got. Sorry. But again, I still hope it was wonderful. And, you know, remember, if you ever need a tower challenge, we're here to land you. I was already back. Take care and make good choices. Have a nice day. We get to be into July tomorrow. It's going to be cool.